Good morning. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome in on this Wednesday. Happy to have you. Lucas is back there making it go. We are with you until 1 o'clock. Your opportunity to jump in at any point throughout the course of the show via the phone line. 615-737-1045 is the number. We got a lot of moving parts today. So for us who have the attention span of small rodents, it will be tough to keep track of things, but we will do our best. Nick Westbrook-Aina, wide receiver 1, will be here at 11:15. Preds on the ice last night. Disappointing result, 5-3 was the loss in Tampa, but Lyndsay Rowley will be here to discuss the first Preds segment that we've done this year. Always good to have Lyndsay in studio. And your participation in the F&M Bank chat via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, always welcome as well. We start with news in the AFC South. Anthony Richardson is going to injured reserve. He's out at least 4 games. That news came down this morning. He was knocked out of the Titans game with a AC joint sprain. Now, turns out they didn't really need Anthony Richardson to go ahead and win that game in fairly comfortable fashion. But we're able to do so with Gardner Minshew as the backup. Team has, according to reports from ESPN's Stephen Holder, been doing extensive consultation with doctors to determine the length of Richardson's absence and now believes he will miss anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the rehab and whether surgery is required. So if he misses only the requisite 4 games, he'll miss the Jags, Browns, and Saints in Indianapolis and a road game at the Panthers. After that 4-game stretch, the Colts are one of these teams that is scheduled to play internationally. They are set to take on the Patriots. Woo! In Germany.
But you know what the Colts are with Gardner Minshew taking the majority, if not all, of the snaps at quarterback?
Frisky.
2-0.
Oh.
They are 2-0.
I saw this news this morning. It's obviously disappointing for, just people who want to see the young quarterbacks get on the field and play. Anthony Richardson missing as much time as he has is unfortunate, and it all but takes him out of the Rookie of the Year conversation. That's probably going to be C.J. Stroud, one would think, at least in the early part of the season. But availability, a part of that, unfortunate with the concussion and the AC joint sprain, and hopefully for his sake, you hope that he doesn't have to have surgery because it is, in fact, his throwing arm.
This is an early trend with Richardson. But I don't know. Could Colts fans sort of peek down the road to see this as an issue for an offense where Shane Steichen very much involves the quarterback run? It's a huge part of the offense. And early returns, that physicality has gotten him knocked out of multiple games.
Well, and you remember the exchange that he had with Trevor Lawrence after the first game of the year, where Lawrence is, and I can't remember the exact phrasing, but to paraphrase, basically saying, "Hey, big guy, take it easy out there.
Chill out.
Those are gonna stack up." Sure enough, through the early going, they have, because the play where he sprained it didn't look more than a routine tackle. Like Landry looked like a small child, like a backpack hanging onto the back of him, trying to drag him down to the turf.
Just landed right on it.
Yeah, just landed square on the throwing shoulder there.
But it's like Josh Allen, right? In that I saw Mike Sando word it this way of The Athletic, that he doesn't deliver the punishment, Anthony Richardson. He kind of takes the punishment on these runs. He's big and athletic, but it's not like Cam Newton, who was running over and through people. He was delivering the punishment. Richardson kind of takes it. And early on, that's resulted in a concussion that's held him out of 1 game, and now a shoulder injury that's going to hold him out of at least 4.
4 to 8 is the thing. Because he didn't play against the Ravens. You'll remember that's a game, as Lucas pointed out.
That's the timetable, 4 to 8 weeks.
That's, yes, and Tom Pelissero is reporting that several defensive backs have been suspended for gambling-related issues. Bud.
Did you say 4 to 8 weeks?
You're doing it on purpose now. You have to be. It's just, it's literally a 5-minute span that has passed between the time that I delivered that information and the time that you come to the microphone with it, knowing that you've brought something, some fresh information to the table.
but them's the breaks.
No, Boris.
It's as you said. Attention spans are all over the place.
We're going to take a look at Ryan. Speaking of quarterbacks, there's going to be a lot of quarterback discussion today because, I mean, we really haven't taken a 1,000-foot view of Tannehill, and I think that's worth doing. Mike Vrabel's going to speak to the media at 11 a.m. You'll hear from him right before Nick Westbrook-Aina joins the show. And then, I have made up my mind on who I think is the best quarterback in the NFL this year. And I bet you would never guess if I gave you 32 tries. But we will get to that later on in the show. For Richardson, and for the sake of the division, the reason that we bring up at least the first 4 games, because he would be required to miss at least 4 games, not 4 weeks. Just a quick refresh of the injured reserve rules. And so that divisional game against the Jags is going to be really, really important for them. For Minshew, certainly. For the Colts defense that played pretty well against the Tennessee Titans, certainly against the run. I think that, the defense for the Jags has been a lot better this year, or at least the run defense. They're not getting after the passer. And whatever you think of Trayvon Walker as a former first overall selection, obviously he has not lived up to that potential. But I think that when you talk about the Jags, the Colts, and at least the next 4 games without Anthony Richardson, for them to drop a game to the Jags or the Browns would do you a great service as you look up at them from the dregs of the bottom of the AFC South and try and figure out how the hell to get back up there.
They'll face 2 of the NFL's top 5 rushing defenses, the Colts will, in those 4 weeks, but they did that last week and found a good bit of success.
Well, again, T.R. Tart somewhere, just dreams of piles of money coming his way because without him, they allowed a running back to have 195 scrimmage yards.
Where do you think the Titans rank in rush yards allowed per game this season?
Rushing yards allowed per game?
Yeah.
So I know they were 4th going in.
Okay. Well, I was gonna ask you, how many spots do you think they dropped?
Well, I don't know this off the top of my head, but he had what? He had 195 scrimmage yards. I think it was 160 something rushing.
They gave up 193 rush yards as a team.
193 rush yards as a team. Okay, so let's say they dropped 8 spots.
5 spots.
5 spots.
Titans are the number 9 rushing defense, now allowing 94.6 per game.
Okay. How healthy is Tart? And how comfortable are they with Jeff's shoulder? I don't, again, it was never medically disclosed to us in the press box. It was never given an injury designation. He just came back in the game after moving very, very slowly off the field. Because at first I thought, and impossible, not that I'm trying to diagnose these guys from up there anyway, but sometimes you can tell, at least get a feeling for what might have happened. For example, we all had a feeling about Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles, right? Without a medical degree. So initially I thought, okay, maybe concussion or stinger, because he's moving so slow getting off the field, and the training staff is surrounding him, at least not helping him get off the field, but there in case he needs them. So I wasn't sure what that might be, and then saw Todd Torricelli, the head trainer, in the locker room afterwards working on his shoulder in the post game. He wouldn't, he didn't act like anything was wrong, and like I said, he came in and finished the game. So. But we know that Jeff is willing to play through some things, and that while that might mean that he's available, as evidenced by last year, can definitely affect his level of impact. 615-737-1045 is the number. Danny Barnhill says, is Simmons injured? I'm out of the loop. Yes, he, we'll find out today if he's on the injury report, I guess. But Jeff did get hurt in the Colts game early, left the field, came back in, finished the end of the game, was not the same Jeff Simmons. Would not acknowledge anything beyond that with us afterwards, and was not, again, there was no injury designation given to the press box, which is typically disclosed if a player is going to be questionable, out, or otherwise. Coming up next, we'll take a 1,000-foot view at Ryan Tannehill. How much of the problem is a quarterback problem? You guys keep asking the question, so it's worth taking a look and see if we can't find out some answers. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Look at you back there basking in the praise of the F&M Bank chat. Taking a victory lap with your people in there?
When people tell us they like what we do, I guess it's inappropriate to thank them in your world.
Well, you would drag me if I did that.
If you thanked someone for saying something nice, I would drag you?
Yes.
Quite the contrary.
Well, we are very appreciative of all the kind words that people are sending our way for the station. I mean, my God, what a summer all four shows had based on what the Barrett Sports Media article put out yesterday. So we're very happy for 3HL and Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and Blaine and Mickey, of course, and we're very grateful that you guys rock with us the way that you do. Thank you very much for doing so. So we put out a poll today because we haven't talked a ton of Tannehill since week one, right? He hadn't really been,
the story.
Yeah, but he also hasn't been a factor in ways that you would like for him. You would like to see a little more, most certainly.
Tannehill was the story. He was the theme, the number 1, 2, and 3 talking point after week one. What was it after week two? It was Tannehill to an extent in the Chargers game.
You came in here saying he had one of the best performances of his career, and I had to back you off a little bit.
At Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, okay.
And statistically, that holds up. But after week 3, what was it? Offensive line, right, in Cleveland.
Yeah, for sure.
And then week 4, defense dominates Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And then after Sunday, largely run defense, secondary, Christian Fulton. Barely mentioned Tannehill.
So he's not really been like a main storyline. Like I told you on Monday, I thought about skipping his press conference in Indy, because there were players in the locker room that were more important to talk to than Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill wasn't good, but he wasn't bad either. Ryan Tannehill wasn't the reason that they lost the game. His presence it wasn't a plus, it wasn't a negative. You know what I'm saying? He played well enough from 20 to 20. There were missed opportunities that he had that could have won them the game that I think in watching back after the fact, and you saw some of the breakdowns on social media, I'm sure, he has not been an overwhelming plus, though. Now, I think that when you talk about the Titans situation, how much of a factor the quarterback is, and you hear Daniel Jeremiah talk about this a lot if you're somebody who listens to his Move the Sticks podcast, a great podcast that he does with Bucky Brooks, been doing it for a long time for NFL Network, and he calls guys wagons or trailers, trailer or trucks. Are you the trailer? Are you being carried? Are you being pulled by something? Are you the truck? Are you the thing that's doing the pulling? And Ryan Tannehill is not a force that is going to overwhelmingly pull them forward. I think we can all determine that enough. I think there's a great many quarterbacks that fit that designation. There's not a lot of trucks using that metaphor in this league. But I do think that it is fair to have higher expectations of him. While I don't think that he is benchable, certainly, I still think he gives them the best opportunity to win football games right now. I am wanting more from the quarterback situation for sure through 5 games. Now, some of the numbers on Ryan Tannehill right now, we can do the counting stats thing if you want to, but I think he is worth looking at a couple of different numbers. So by counting stats, Ryan Tannehill's touchdown to interception ratio, quite poor. The Saints game being the primary factor in that. He has 2 touchdowns on the season. He has 5 interceptions on the year. He is the 30th ranked quarterback by QBR, 37.1. He has 1,052 passing yards, completing thus far. Let's see. Where is his completion percentage? 70. No, less than 75.
He's completing 63%.
63, sorry. I don't know why that wasn't. Okay, 63.4. 142 attempts, 90 completions. Now, some of the advanced metrics on Ryan Tannehill are also worth talking about. He is, by advanced metrics, the 22nd ranked quarterback. You want to take a guess who he's sandwiched between?
What's the number, the metric again?
So we're going to look at a couple of them, but this is a composite of EPA per play and completion percentage over expectation. Advanced metrics.
Okay. Who he's sandwiched between.
How much of a plus he is on a down-in, down-out basis.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins on this list is 10th. He is considerably lower than Kirk Cousins this year.
Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs is 24th. He is 2 spots lower. So you're closer. Josh Dobbs is a .050 EPA and CPOE composite rating.
So who is it?
Derek Carr is 21st, and Matt Stafford is 23rd. So just to kind of go over these things, because we don't use EPA a lot, but I do think that, one, I need to incorporate it more into my analysis. It's how a lot of these things are being discussed now, and I think I've honestly been negligent on some of the advanced metrics to a degree, at least working it into conversation where it's not like, hey, here's a number, I got to tell you what it means. Expected points added, it's the measure of success that defines the value of each play by the effect it has on the offense's likelihood to score. So for every play, EPA is attributed equally to both teams, and the metric fairly reliable in identifying the best teams in football. Common practice to discuss it on an EPA per play basis. So that's something that we're going to start using more of. It's a bad job out of me. I like that the announcers are starting to use stuff like that more. We need to do better as well. So that's EPA. Success rate for Ryan Tannehill. 40.3% of his plays thus far have been successful plays. Now, for
what
reference,
constitutes a successful play?
Now, that is worth talking about because True Media does not give an exact definition of a successful play there.
Like, that's where I struggle. Is it if it's 4th and 1 and you kind of spin out of pressure and able to stay on your feet and check it down to Tajay to move the sticks, is that a successful play, even if it only gained 2 yards?
So defined, and this is courtesy of I'm blanking on the outlet. Football Outsiders. Success rate is an advanced metric in football that measures efficiency, but with the important context of down and distance considered, a play is defined as successful if it gains at least 50% of the yards required to move the chains on first down, 70% of the yards to gain on second down. That is success rate defined. So thus far, by that definition, Ryan Tannehill is succeeding on 40.3% of his plays. Now, it does not take into account his offensive line situation, his general protection situation, the parts around him. This is specifically drops as well, where they came into the game, as Mike Keith said, leading the NFL in drops. The Ravens might be close. The Ravens, I think, on their heels. I think
the Chiefs lead the league,
which is Kadarius Toney.
And so much of that is from week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan Tannehill in success rate, bottom half of the league. In EPA per play, bottom half of the league. Who do you think, and we're going to spend a lot of time on this later, but like if you had to, can you guess the top 5 quarterbacks by advanced metrics this year? Looking deeper at the numbers beyond touchdowns and interceptions.
I'm gonna say Brock Purdy.
Purdy is 1.
And maybe an outside the box one is Jared Goff.
Jared Goff is 8.
Yeah, he's up there.
So here is the top 10 quarterbacks by EPA and completion percentage over expectation. Purdy, Josh Allen, Tua.
Tua makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Well, although we'll see how much that changes because they've been stymied a bit here as of late.
Still breaking records.
Mahomes. Take a guess who the number 5 quarterback is. Actually, 5 and 6 are going to shock people.
C.J. Stroud?
No, C.J. Stroud is Where is C.J. Stroud on this list? C.J. Stroud is 16.
You say it's going to shock people.
It's going to shock you. 5 and 6 are going to shock you.
Let's ride.
He's 6. He's playing pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's their defense. It's a big problem.
Their team is bad. And honestly, I think they're getting out-coached pretty regularly. So, head on a swivel out there, Sean Payton, a first-round pick in a trade. Russell Wilson is the 6th-ranked quarterback by EPA and CPOE this year.
Baker, another one?
Baker's 5. Baker, Russ, Herbert, Goff, Hurts, Cousins. That's the top 10.
Baker is quietly having a fantastic start to his season.
It's wild. Now, Lamar Jackson, the Titans' next opponent, he is considerably lower on this list than I thought he might be. But also, they have been plagued by drops, and particularly the last game that you've seen it. He is 2 spots above C.J. Stroud. He's the 14th ranked quarterback by advanced metrics. So just to go 5 spots further beyond the top 10, it's Dak, Geno, Sam Howell, Lamar, Jimmy G. Stroud, Watson, Lawrence, 19th. Just above Justin Fields. He has also been failed by a couple of different things. I don't think he's had a great year. I think he's been above average in moments, but I think for the most part, Trevor Lawrence, I still need to see some more. Then 21, Carr, Tannehill, Stafford, Dobbs, Daniel Jones. Bryce Young is 26th. And by qualified quarterbacks, because Gardner Minshew now factors into this equation. Kenny Pickett is the bottom of the barrel. He is the 33rd ranked quarterback. Both Bailey Zappi, just Minshew. Zappi has not yet taken enough attempts or had enough passing attempts to qualify this list. 32 is Mac Jones. 33 is Kenny Pickett. 31 is Joe Burrow. But we'll see how much that changes based on the last week.
I bet he was 32 before last week.
So, Ryan Tannehill needs to be better. I don't think that, it's kind of like Mac Jones' situation. Mac Jones could be a better quarterback. Mac Jones needs to be a better quarterback. As many people have noted, many people far smarter than I when it comes to the analysis of the game, it is impossible to play quarterback in New England. No other player would succeed should they put him in, and Bill Belichick has confirmed that, again, Mac Jones will start this coming weekend. I don't think that this is a situation where Malik or Levis would succeed any more than Ryan Tannehill is. So it's not the biggest reason that they haven't put the other. I mean, it is. If one of the other two gave them a better chance to win football games, I think that they would make that switch. The reality of the situation is you need a player who can manage enough in a bad spot. And Tannehill is managing enough in a bad spot. Well, maybe not enough because they have a losing record, but he is managing. He is surviving. He is not thriving by any stretch of the imagination. But the question that you must ask yourselves is, would another player thrive in this particular situation or at least exceed the production of what is out there right now? The answer is flatly no. There's going to be a discussion, depending on how the next game goes, and certainly with the time of the bye, there's going to be a discussion about, depending on what Ryan Tannehill looks like in this particular game and whether they win or lose, should they consider making a change and just seeing what they have. And I don't think that's an unwarranted discussion. They would be 2-4 if they dropped the Ravens game heading into the bye. I would still be of the opinion that Ryan Tannehill gives them the best chance to succeed. But there will be many people who are saying two wins on the season, bye week's already here, make the change now while you have the opportunity to try and show us something. Show us something from the two young, or one of the two young players that you have at the position behind the thing that we know is not good enough to elevate them right now. I don't think it's an unfair discussion. I don't think it's a realistic discussion. But again, that depends on what it looks like against Baltimore, I guess.
They have to choose between seeing what we have, like so many Titans fans want, and doing what they think is best to give them a chance to win and stay in contention for this division. It's no contest.
No, I agree.
That's where the crossroads are, where fans want to see what you have regardless. Put seeing what you have above what you think gives you the best chance to win any given game. That's not how that works.
Yes, and I'm glad that you emphasize that, because here's the thing, okay? Right now, on October the 11th, Mike Vrabel is not worried about who's going to play quarterback for the Titans in 2024. Hadn't even crossed his mind. Rand Carthon might be, but more realistically, it's about, all right, how can I find ways to support this football team or make this football team better, or try and churn the bottom of the roster to improve our depth, or rely on our pro scouts to see if there are, I can't imagine this is a team that's considering acquisitions, given that their draft capital situation is not ideal heading in. But these are all scenarios that have to be considered. The person who is going to play quarterback for you in the future does not matter today. Does not matter today, flatly. You're trying to win football games here and now. And this, I think, is the disconnect. And I got frustrated. What was that? Was that yesterday when I was yelling at people 2 days ago? When I was yelling at people about the idea of fans preferring to go, to bottom out, get the best draft pick humanly possible already this point in the season.
Like preferring to go 4-12 versus 8-9.
Correct. And I just, it drives me insane, because it ignores how a professional sport, a serious professional sports franchise is run. They are not concerned with the future in the season, in the current season. And while that may be difficult for you to wrap your head around, and while you may think that some of you, not all of you, may think that the season is forsaken and that they're just prolonging the inevitable, you may well be right. They might just be prolonging the inevitable. I have no idea. They don't either. That's the point on October the 11th. You don't know anything definitively, other than your situation right now has significant corrections across the board that need to be made for this to be a more competitive version of a football team that I think can be more competitive as currently constructed. I don't know how much more, but I can't tell you anything definitive. That's the point. You can't tell me anything definitive about how this season is going to go. Mike Vrabel can't. Ryan Tannehill can't. I can't. So why would we try to operate in extremes and ultimatums 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in, I guess now?
Well, fans are able to do that because they have the luxury of checking out, right?
They do.
Of reaching whatever their breaking point is as a Titans fan and saying, okay, nothing is happening this year. Wait for the future. Do something for the future. Let's see what you have for the future, so they don't have to be invested in the rest of these games, ignoring that everybody in that building has to be, because it's careers on the line.
It's correct, right? Like I make the joke all the time, like, at least you guys can change the channel. Right? Like we're sitting here for the full thing, right? They're playing the full thing. You can move on with your day. They cannot. Coaching staffs cannot. Media cannot. That's not the reality of what pro sports is. Now, there are some unserious franchises who have actively tried to tank, but I do think that we've confused this a bit, from teams who are actively trying to tank for, let's say this year, Caleb Williams, to teams who are just honestly bad of their own volition.
Who's trying to tank?
Teams.
Who's trying to tank?
Not the Arizona Cardinals.
Like, give me the team that is actively trying to tank right now in the NFL.
Carolina Panthers are out there trying to win football games.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're just bad.
The Chicago Bears thought they were good enough to give up the number 1 overall pick. They're not tanking. This has become a problem, though, in a lot of media, where it's been worked into the discourse about how a team should realistically approach the future. Like, as if it's a realistic option. It's being discussed by intelligent people, intellectual people, which confuse me, because I know they know better. Or at least if they're talking to any of these coaches, actually talking to any of these coaches, that they know better. Now, you have a Stephen Ross every once in a while. He's out here trying to hand out, allegedly, $100,000 handshakes per loss in the tank for Tua season. But, like, Tua wasn't Tua with Brian Flores. That didn't work out. It took Mike McDaniel getting there for Tua to turn into whatever this version of Tua Tagovailoa is going to be. 615-737-1045. We can take your phone calls. We will also do Lucas's SEC observations coming up next.
"40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind:
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
to sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
Welcome back to the show. Do Lucas's SEC observations here in just a second. Meanwhile, we got some phone calls, 615-737-1045. An old favorite, Darrington up first. Hey, bud.
What's going on there, Mr. Bucks? How are you doing today?
I'm swell, getting ready to get Intercontinental tomorrow.
So you're going to go take your vacation in London because you ain't going to go watch no football game unless you're just going to go watch Lamar.
I'm gonna take in England, Australia, and hope that is the superior football game to the game that I am actually there to work.
Yeah, make sure you don't get hit stick by none of them Australian spiders neither, because I know they can be very dangerous. And make sure you get a good picture of Big Ben.
Okay.
Anyway, before you went on commercial break, you made one statement. Luke, I know I only got like 30-something seconds left. I'm going to make this real quick. You said something about we don't know what the Titans are going to be. Yes, we do. We know Ryan Tannehill is going to turn into another Nathaniel. Christian Fulton is going to keep doing what he's doing. Jack Gibby is just going to continue to be overstepping because that's just not what he's made to be doing. He's a backup player playing a starter position. This is what it is. Secondary ain't that good. Defensive line is not what it once was. Just is what it is. Harold Landry's still trying to work his way back. He needs another year. I say let's go get Justin Fields for next year. Why not? Let's make it interesting. Let's make it spicy. Malik Willis ain't nothing. Will Levis is still looking for mayonnaise. Well, let's just go ahead and do it. Anyway, I think that's what they're going to be anyway. Another Nathaniel. Let's not waste time. All right. No music played. Did good. Have a good one.
Not quite, but pretty close. Well done. I don't know what Justin Fields is going to do this offseason. That's a fascinating situation as well. But we'll circle back to quarterbacks later.
It's just funny what one one performance, one game can do. Because Justin Fields 2 weeks ago, it's just not working, right?
Yeah.
Just something's off with the coaching staff.
He's being called. He's being accused of lack of leadership skills because he's taking things to the media.
Just haven't really seen him develop. Hasn't improved enough. And then one big game against the Commanders, and he is an ascending player.
The Commanders.
Powder, keep it dry.
That's right. All right. SEC observations, please.
Let's talk about SEC, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Nick Saban and Josh Heupel in the SEC. Let's talk about SEC, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Brian Kelly and Greg Sankey in the SEC. Let's talk about SEC.
Let's talk about inevitability. That is the overwhelming feeling that I had watching the SEC action on Saturday.
Oh.
Inevitability that the SEC championship game in early December in Atlanta, Georgia, will consist of the Georgia Bulldogs and the Alabama Crimson Tide. As I watched Alabama walk into College Station and take away Jimbo's soul, and I watched Georgia trample all over the Kentucky Wildcats, who came in an upstart group with hopes of an upset bid, 51-13 the final. So we can start with Georgia, who outgained Kentucky 608 to 183 on the day, ran all over the Wildcats. Carson Beck had a nice night, 28 of 35, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception as Georgia ran for 173 yards. Could have been a lot more. This could have been a lot worse. 51-13 the final as Georgia reasserted itself at the top of college football. And Brock Bowers, 7 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown. I don't know what it would take for Bowers to really sneak into the Heisman discussion. I think some people are already kind of talking about him in that way, but I just don't know that he's going to have the numbers for it by the end of the year, even though so many people will tell you he's probably the best player in all of college football.
Well, man, I was listening to Todd McShay reemerged from the ether for the first time since the ESPN layoffs. He was on Ryan Russillo's podcast, and I was listening to that recently. McShay talking about how much Bowers, and this isn't going to matter for the Heisman vote, but as an argument for him as the best college football player in the country, McShay kind of breaking down how much improved he is as a blocker and where he is improved as a blocker beyond being the physical freak and, acrobatic catches and all the different things, Bowers can do as a receiver, basically to make him a complete player at the position, thus making him, or at least giving him an argument, a great argument for the best player in college football this year. Matt Matt, our buddy Matt Murphy from WTN was walking down the hallway yesterday screaming, "Is that a fast enough start for you?" about his Georgia Bulldogs, screaming it from the rafters. Maybe we should have Matt come in here and talk some Georgia. Is he on at the same time as us?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much. That would be fun. Actually, we need to see if we can make that work.
I would be down.
I'd love to get Matt Murphy in here. But, yeah, so Georgia reasserts itself. They may sleepwalk through a couple more games this season. Their biggest challenge by far remaining is Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. That's also a product of Georgia's schedule. They don't have any big challenges other than that in general. Missouri, with its first loss of the year in a shootout against LSU. Bad beat, by the way, for anyone who bet Missouri plus 5.5. Pick 6 at the end sealed the cover for LSU on the road. So LSU's defense giving up a ton of points, a ton of yards, but ultimately coming up with some turnovers that pretty much won them the game. And Jaden Daniels playing through a back injury, really tough performance from the LSU quarterback. So the SEC West is a little more interesting than the East. You have Alabama, who's in the driver's seat at this point after that win over A&M. LSU's looking at having to win out, having to beat Alabama along the way to find itself in Atlanta for a second consecutive year in as many years as Brian Kelly's been coaching that team. Did you watch Bama A&M?
No.
26-20 the final. Jimbo Fisher coaching scared, man. Coaching scared. 4th and 1 on the Alabama 45-yard line, fourth quarter, tie game, you punt it away. Jimbo's concession at the end was, if it had been a little less than a yard, we would have gone for it, but it was a full yard, so we decided to punt and play defense. Back in the second quarter.
Josh McDaniels it.
Yes, in the second quarter, A&M with a 7-point lead. They sack Alabama on third down. They force a punt with over 90 seconds left in the half. Jimbo says, let's just take this thing to halftime, rather than trying to find more points there at the end and extend the lead. So Jimbo Fisher playing a little scared, coaching a little scared. A&M loses 26-20, and Alabama is on the rise. That defense is playing so well. Bama could only run for 23 yards on the day. That includes sack yardage, so it's a little bit of a misleading number. Milroe lost 31 yards on sacks, but it does speak to this A&M.
How many sacks total?
A&M sacked Jalen Milroe a total of 6 times. They got after him. So that speaks to the challenge Tennessee has in front of it on Saturday. Rushing defense of Texas A&M, just that front seven in general, is nasty. It's the best group the Vols will face in that regard this season, and it will be the best group they face until they play Alabama, who probably has the best pass rusher in the country in Dallas Turner. And that's arguable, Jared Verse of Florida State, but Dallas Turner, first-round draft pick. Alabama looks like it's back ascending towards its rightful place at the top of the SEC West. Their defense is playing phenomenal, and this was the Jermaine Burton game. The former Georgia wide receiver, 9 catches, 197 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So 197 of Jalen Milroe's 321 yards went to Jermaine Burton. Isaiah Bond chipped in with 96. So they're starting to find their way in the downfield passing game. Run game has struggled a bit. Offensive line has continued to struggle a little bit for Alabama, but this defense is nothing short of elite. So inevitability is the overwhelming feeling that I had after watching those games on Saturday of an Alabama-Georgia SEC championship.
Do you still have a feeling of inevitability, given that Georgia will face its toughest test this weekend?
And whom's might you be referencing?
They're on the road this weekend.
Where's Georgia going this weekend?
They're here.
Oh, that's right. They are at Vanderbilt. 11 a.m. kickoff. CBS doubleheader this weekend. Vandy, Georgia at 11. Tennessee, Texas A&M at 2:30.
That you didn't know who the number one team in the country is playing this weekend is actively hilarious, given that it's down the street.
I had forgotten. Who keeps
Ken
it?
Seals does not upset your feeling of inevitability?
Who keeps it closer, Vandy to Georgia or Indiana to Michigan?
No. Oh, damn. Well, I haven't watched an Indiana game all year, so I'll say Vanderbilt.
I don't even want you bringing up Indiana when NWI joins the show here in about 20 minutes. I don't even want you to bring it up.
I shamed you with Levis. You can shame me with NWI.
Yeah, you're not allowed to share your Hoosier pride with him when you. I am.
We will just bond over things like Kilroy's breadsticks as opposed to the actual football program that he played for.
I don't even think you can name a player on that roster.
You're correct. I could not. I'm telling you, brother. It's nothing against my alma mater, except their football program. Speaking of which, proud alumni of Hoosier football, Nick Westbrook-Aina will join us at 11:15 today. Lucas, I'm sure, will make fun of me, and we can see whether NWI will revoke my Hoosierdom later on. Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel's going to speak to the media. That's next.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Nashville Predators opened the Andrew Brunette era with a 5-3 loss at the Tampa Bay Lightning. 6 of the game's 8 goals came in the third period. Ryan O'Reilly with a goal and assist in his Preds debut. The Lightning scored an empty netter late to secure the win. Preds will travel back home to host the Kraken tomorrow night, the home opener at Bridgestone Arena. Titans back on the practice field today before heading to London Thursday evening ahead of Sunday's matchup with the Baltimore Ravens at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Head coach Mike Vrabel meeting with the media as we speak. We'll go to that live here in moments. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway. Mike Vrabel's at the podium. I'm going to shut up and defer to the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He's up.
Our laptops, try to get some stuff covered on the plane, try to get some rest, and then have everything set up when we get there.
Some of the Ravens players, they said the last time they went there, guys were falling asleep in meetings and just having trouble adapting. Do you recall when you guys went, did you have any issues like that?
I mean, guys fall asleep in meetings here probably too, so what's the difference with the chime change? I don't recall it being an issue. You know, I mean, I don't. You know, I mean, we're going to get there. We're going to do some activities, get into meetings. You know, we're going to try to move around here after we get off the plane, do some meetings, get out on the field, and then, you know, give them some time, and then get back up on Saturday and have a normal, what we would hope a normal Saturday. So I don't know with the length of the day, you know, let's say if today we were in London, what that would look like.
Anything unique about I know you're focused on the game, but anything unique about the game day experience that Sunday at Wembley?
Well, I enjoy the fans that have everybody, you know, 32 different, you know, jerseys on, you know, different teams. And so I think that's pretty unique. I think that's cool to see all the teams represented. And hopefully we'll have plenty of fans over there, excited to get over there. But that is something, you know, I mean, you'll look over and see, you know, Tom Brady jersey, I'm sure, or, you know, Josh Allen or anybody else around the league.
When you look at this Ravens offense, coach, skill position-wise, do you see a little more speed there with this group?
Well, Aguilar certainly got the ball downfield. Zay Flowers, pretty much everything that we thought in the you know, going through the draft process with his speed, his quickness, change of direction, and you know, obviously working Beckham back in there, Bateman one after another. Know how reliable that Andrews is. So there's plenty of options for Lamar. Not to mention, you know, when the quarterback's probably the fastest one of them all, there's plenty of speed.
What do you anticipate from Traylon this week? And once he's back, what can he add to the full stable?
Well, hopefully he can add, you know, where he was going at points last year before you know, a setback, and this year, you know, being able to move the ball downfield, to be a big player that builds speed, that has some speed down the field, that has good play strength. You know, that can help us down the field.
What stands out about their secondary? It seems like they've had a lot of success this year stopping the pass.
Well, they've always been good. I think that they play with great fundamentals. I think that they challenge. They've got good ball skills. Safeties are interchangeable parts, down and back, and you know, I think Stevens has had a good year, and you know, Darby's filled in for Humphreys, and he'll play, and we know how good that Humphreys is. But you know, they've got good size, and they challenge you down the field, and you know, play multiple coverages too, which I respect.
You mentioned that out of this game, you've done it in the past too. On the red zone trips, you had 4. You got the touchdown, and you had the penalty on the one that led to the 1st and 20. So we ask you about it, and you talk about the 1st and 20.
We didn't convert the 4th and 1.
Right, but you don't talk about the 2 series that were 1st and 10 like regular series.
And then we gained 2 yards, right? Gained 2 yards and didn't convert. We have to be better, So we'll see where we are this week, Paul. I'm not going to recap everything that we didn't do well. Trying to focus on how we're going to try to score against the Ravens, and looking forward to it.
I'm asking generally, though, when you guys look back at games, you always seem to really harp on the getting behind the sticks part, and not on the not moving the ball when you're in regular down and distance situations.
Well, those are probably what I would call unforced errors, or whether we snapped the ball over the quarterback's head against Cincinnati. So those are unforced errors, or we didn't block a guy. And again, I'm trying to say that there's some really good things to have 8 double-digit drives against good competition. Unfortunately, we have to make sure that we're at our best late in those drives.
Talking about guys needing to make plays that they're supposed to make, I guess. I mean, what's your challenge to players to maybe make the play that maybe extraordinary plays? I know you hadn't had a pick since week 1. Your challenge there for
tip
guys?
a ball. We don't tip any balls. Like this is pro football, Jimmy. We pay them. They go make plays. It's defensive football. Go play fast. Go play violent. Go play aggressive and cover your man. Rush. Like same thing that 31 other teams are doing.
The Ravens have had some trouble holding on to the ball lately. Is that something that you hope to be able to start?
Sure, I hope. Certainly hope. But we have to go out there and put it to action. We got to knock it off somebody. We got to hit them hard enough to knock the ball loose, tip a pass that hopefully gets intercepted. Have some ball disruption on the receiver. Guys running to the football, bounces up in the air and intercept it.
His job. What do you need to see from Nick in terms of getting back in the starting job? What's he need to show you? Is it just working out rust or?
He's going to have to play pretty well right now. I think Chris is doing a nice job over there. Nick will keep working his way in there, but I'm not ready to make that move. I think Chris has been, nice surprise just playing over there.
With the tip and balls thing, is there anything?
That's Mike Vrabel at the podium talking about a variety of different issues and things that they are looking to address ahead of the game against the Ravens this weekend. Nick Westbrook-Aina, Titans wide receiver 1, ? He joins us next. So normally we do the dumbest thing in sports this week here. We'll still do that. Just be a little later in the segment. Nick Westbrook-Aina is going to join us momentarily, Titans wide receiver. Lucas, I gave you this information during the break. He's the only Titans wide receiver who has not one touchdown, but 2 touchdowns this season. But he is the only wide receiver on the football team with a touchdown this year. 2 touchdown receptions for NWI, 1 for Josh Wiley.
Both of Ryan Tannehill's touchdown passes, right? Tannehill has 2.
That is correct, because Wiley's reception was from Derek.
And DeAndre Hopkins' first touchdown would have been from Derek.
Can you imagine? If we came into this on Monday and I had to talk about a quarterback who's thrown as many touchdown passes as the running back had at that point, I mean, maybe people wouldn't have noticed, but
QBR took a hit on that overthrow by Derrick Henry.
Yeah, young Peyton Manning. Need a little more touch on that big fella. You know what? No, no criticisms of Derrick Henry ever. I don't care. They can only do so much. Damn it! They are leaning on him so much
in the moment.
So often.
In the moment, did you like the play call?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's a creative design, right? Hopkins is wide open. It's right there.
Listen, for a team who Greg Cosell tells me cannot just line up and play football, I am willing to accept that they can have whomever they need to throw touchdown passes. I don't care if it's the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, or the left tackle. Somebody do it.
I feel like that's pretty troubling analysis from Cosell.
You think?
When you consider what this team's identity has been.
He said it casually as if it was just kind of like, it's just like, they can't just line up and play right now. I'm like, oh, God.
Like, line up and play, that boils down to the line of scrimmage, right? Is that essentially what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Like, which team is most capable of just lining up and playing? The Eagles?
Oh, for sure. Well, the Eagles, by consensus, still best offensive line in football, best defense, best at least combination. I don't know if there's still the best offensive line in football. They're up there, right? But they are definitively the team with the best O-line, D-line combo or package of any team, without question. It's what keeps them in every game, and they've played close games at the start of the season. Jalen Hurts has not been as good as he was a year ago. And they have the opportunity to make up for that. 1, because he's well protected. 2, because they can run the football. 3, because they have a line with a lot of different players who just keep adding guys like Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith because they can at any given point.
Their red zone offense has been pretty poor. The Eagles near the bottom. I'm trying to pull up the numbers again, but we were talking about this yesterday with the Titans, and I was surprised to see the Eagles as low as they are.
Well, let me take a look at red zone percentages just to see where the Titans stack up right now. Because is that more concerning than the defense stuff? Like
the offense sputtering in the red zone?
Yeah, the fact that they're kicking field goals as often as they have this year, as opposed to what we're accustomed to seeing.
Well, what's a worse problem to have? High red zone efficiency numbers, but low volume, not getting into the red zone enough to maximize that, or getting to the red zone, but having trouble punching it in?
The answer is push.
I mean, the latter feels more correctable.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what Nick Westbrook-Aina thinks of the situation when he joins us here in just a few moments. It is, like I said, it's week 6, so we'll see what corrections can be made. This would be a great opportunity in London on a game that is very, very much neutral site to get one over an AFC opponent that they have had their own miscues, the Ravens and the Titans, throughout the course of the season. And as we said, it's week 6. This stuff is correctable, and we'll see which team is able to get right. Meanwhile, we'll talk to Nick Westbrook-Aina, who's on the phone with us now. The pride of Indiana football, the pride of Bloomington, Indiana, my alma mater. Lucas is back there shaking his head at me. What's happening, Nick?
How's it going? I'm doing well. How are y'all?
We're doing good. We're doing good. I was Lucas has been trying to kind of smoke me out as a fake Indiana football fan. Basically since we started the radio show 3 years ago, and I think he's going to have you decide whether I get to still call myself an Indiana fan by the end of the segment.
I can be the judge of that.
Perfect. I just don't think that Buck should have the luxury of aligning himself with you in that way Nick, when Buck can't name a single player on the Indiana football roster, he's admitted to being a Notre Dame fan, which was news to me until recently. So I just think that this is very convenient for Buck to try and align with you and get on your side of things as fellow Hoosiers, where I truly don't think Buck has any business claiming he's an Indiana football fan.
He's basically calling me a kiss ass, Nick, is what he's doing.
Yeah, there could be some brown nosing going on there, but we'll see.
No. But we're bonding on the sideline over Kilroy's breadsticks, or the idea of Kilroy's breadsticks. There are Hoosier ties here to be had beyond, my negligence of the football team during my time there. I graduated in 2015, Nick, so we didn't cross paths, but there was when you were at Indiana playing for the Hoosiers, you played for Tom Allen, correct?
Correct.
And so what was the environment like with him? Because we all know him to be a good coach. He's an incredible personality, obviously. And Indiana as a football program in the Big Ten, tends to struggle against some of the higher level of competition. It's Michigan week, and that'll be an interesting result this week. But what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, it was good for me. Coach Allen was a fiery personality. I feel like people see that. The biggest thing is you just knew he really cared a lot about that opportunity that he has as a head coach in his home state. He just really cared a lot. There was a lot of emotion that he showed from the day one when he showed up as a defensive coordinator. You could tell he cared about it. So I know when I was there, and then still now, he's putting his all in everything because he really cares a lot being a hometown guy.
And Nick, you were there the lone year that Kalen DeBoer was calling plays on offense. Has it surprised you at all, the crazy amount of success that he's having at Washington with Michael Penix?
No, not at all. I mean, both of them obviously are really a great coach and a great player. He came in one year and kind of flipped our offense around and made us, be able to have a chance at winning games, and had, one of our best seasons while I was there. So I saw that transformation just in 1 year with us. So when he went over to UW, it wasn't really a surprise to me because I was in it, and he's really good at drawing up plays and making the most of the guys that he's had.
I mean, Penix, though, going to Washington and having the success that he's had, I don't know how much college football you're getting to watch on Saturdays, Nick, between travel and prep and things like that, but he's very much in the conversation, if not the best quarterback in college football this year.
Oh yeah, I love all the Heisman hype. It's awesome. It's awesome seeing him because he showed that talent when I was there. It was obviously he had injuries and stuff like that, and that's tough, especially playing in the Big Ten, where you're playing against big dudes, big D linemen, and there was a little bit of a gap there for us. So he was getting hit a lot, and so now he's in a spot where he can stay protected, and he has the time and opportunity to deliver the ball, and he throws a really good deep ball. Just really good ball overall. So it's awesome seeing him have that success now.
Titans wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Aina is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. He's about to head out to practice as they get ready for the Ravens in London this weekend. Your journey from Indiana to the pros, honestly, and again, we can be accused of brown nosing, but I've talked about this before, Nick. It is so impressive what you have done to this point in your career, given the starting point, and now how much of a factor you are for this offense, and really in the last couple of years. What I guess was the factor that contributed most to the amount of success that you've been able to have, and the way that you've found ways to prolong your NFL career far further than a lot of UDFAs can say that they have?
I'd probably say that the biggest thing is just being prepared and being able to know all the different spots. I feel like that's put me in a position to allow my talent to be able to show up when I have the opportunity to. But really, it's been a blessing this whole time. I still pinch myself sometimes because I recognize, it wasn't the easiest route and it wasn't really the expected route. But I'm just blessed to still be a part of this organization and try to contribute and play my part in making us successful.
Your rookie camp was COVID camp, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a weird year. We had training camp. We had no preseason games. We just jumped right into it, training camp to the season.
And so, I mean, that was the only, first NFL rookie experience that you know, so it would be difficult for, I guess, you to compare it to somebody else's, given that was your experience. But what was like when you're figuring out that you're going to make the 53-man roster, what was that experience like for you? I imagine you guys were doing a lot of stuff virtually still.
Yeah, it was a lot of virtual stuff. I remember OTAs were virtual. I actually got cut after the cut day, and then got elevated for the first week, and then after that signed to the 53. And it was all it was a different experience. I feel like you didn't really get to hang out with teammates a bunch outside of the facility. So it was a lot of me on my own with me and my now wife, and just kind of just playing football and going home and trying to study football, and that was really about it. But now it's been awesome being able to get to know guys, and I think that's been a huge part of being able to learn from guys year 2, year 3 that I didn't really get as much, outside of the facility my first year.
How much more do you maybe, I don't know if you emphasize it anymore because that was not the experience that you got to have, but how important is that to you to kind of connect with dudes in that way? And of course that's important on any team, but given the fact that was absent in your rookie experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest things about, this job is being able to learn from the guys around you, being able to, learn from the dudes that have been doing it for a while, the vets that have been successful for a long time, being able to study their habits, but then also just get to know them around the locker room and just kind of how they operate. I feel like that was a big jump for me, after my first year, going into my second year, and actually being able to interact with dudes. And I think of a guy like, for me, Matthias Farley. He was just a huge person for me my second year, kind of like showing me the ropes, how to operate, how to take care of your body, and just how to be a pro in general.
Nick Westbrook-Aina, kind enough to give us some of his time before he heads out on the practice field today. So big opportunity coming up in London. You weren't on the last trip. That one was certainly an experience back in 2018. What are you most looking forward to? What are you uncertain about? What is different, I guess, about this week for you besides, the 8-hour plane ride?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's really the big difference is just it's a longer flight. You try to adjust your sleep schedule. But at the end of the day, it's still the same goal in mind, and that's going out there to win a game. It's maybe a different environment. It's not going to be the same. The fans are probably going to be a little different. They're cheering for both sides. They're really just wanting to watch a good game. But I don't think really anything changes much. And, I think that's what we got to do as a team, is just remember that the task at hand is to win the game. Yeah, we'll be in London, but that's just the site of it.
This is a rivalry that means a great deal to longtime Titans fans, and obviously that's felt like it's been renewed in the last couple of years with the great games that you guys have had going back and forth, and both of having had success in a limited sample size. But Titans fans hate the Baltimore Ravens. The players who, like Keith Bullock was on the radio show, Brad Hopkins going to be on tomorrow, guys that have been with this franchise for a long time, absolutely hate the Ravens. Is this a rivalry game to you guys in as much a way as I guess there are rivalries in the NFL?
I mean, it's tough for me, obviously, because I've only been here and I've only played them a few times. But I would say, yeah, I mean, just the way that both of these teams are kind of the culture of them, hard-nosed, gritty football. I think that's kind of what both of these teams hang our hat on. So anytime you have two teams that have that, it's a contest. It's who's gonna be, play harder, who's gonna finish longer, who's gonna be more physical. And it's really just it's a clash of egos in that sense, where it's two teams showing what their culture is, and whichever one is better will come out on top.
Did you have a job while you were on campus at Indiana while you were playing football? Did you work at all on the side?
One of my last summers, I actually I sold tickets for IU football games.
Okay. I worked in the ticketing department too, towards the end. I can't remember how exactly that ended. But my first job on campus was making sandwiches at the McNutt Dorm C-store, the convenience store there. Does that allow me, so you know immediately what I'm talking about, does that allow me to retain my status as a Hoosier?
Yeah, I think that detail does. I feel like that changes it because that C-store, those things were money, and they were huge. As a student athlete who stayed at Briscoe, going to the C-store and getting those sandwiches were lifesavers.
Eat it, Lucas.
Buck, name 2 quarterbacks in the history of Indiana football. Go now. Go.
Michael Penix
and
Nate Sudfeld.
No,
Nate Sudfeld.
No, ran out of time.
To his defense, a lot of students that went there probably couldn't name 2 either. So
thank you. See, Nick understands. This is why we appreciate his time on the radio show. Continued health and success, buddy. I appreciate you stopping by.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's Nick Westbrook-Aina with us on 104.5 The Zone. He understands. People, Lucas, you were so confused when you went with me out on a night where Indiana football played. What was that, last year in Indianapolis, Titans Colts? You went out with a bunch of my friends that had graduated from Indiana. Everybody got their Indiana gear on. Nobody wearing Notre Dame gear. Not a single soul wearing Indiana gear, paying any attention to Indiana. I think it was Indiana, Maryland that night.
No, it was Nebraska. And y'all lost to that Nebraska. I guess I just can't relate to it.
The football player.
It's such a
the football player just told you. There a lot of people on campus couldn't name quarterbacks. In my defense.
Truly, I just can't even wrap my head around that. Around your college experience not being completely centered around the football program.
Kevin Leonard says, Antoine Randall L. Did he play at Indiana?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Don't know. Nate, can you at least give me an Indiana head coach outside of Tom Allen in the history of Indiana football?
Oh, Lee Corso.
Yeah, I was going to say
Lee Corso. Because apparently, I don't know this, but apparently there's people at Indiana don't like Lee Corso because apparently he punted on 3rd down or something like that a couple of times. Like that's a thing that happened. I can neither confirm nor deny that, but that is the length of my Lee Corso knowledge. I can't even remember the name of the coach who was there while I was there. He was associated with Oklahoma. He got in trouble for having dudes play through concussions. I remember I think he got kind of run out of the job for Tom Allen at the time because he was Tom Allen's Tom Allen was his defensive coordinator. I don't remember the dude's name.
Kevin Wilson.
Kevin Wilson. Yeah.
Kevin Wilson, who's currently the head coach at Tulsa.
Okay.
He's in his first year at Tulsa. He spent the last 5 years as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was the OC at Oklahoma and then was head coach at Indiana for a few years before leaving for Ohio State.
Yeah, he was the head coach while I was there, and he got in trouble. That was
his best year at Indiana. Let's see. His 1-11, 4-8, 5-7, 4-8, 6-7, 6-6.
People are furious with me in the chat that I did not know Randall L. played for Indiana. Listen, guys, I you could ask. I knew Matthias Farley went to Notre Dame. I said it to Lucas here when NWI brought him up. Notre Dame legend. I used to scream at my television watching Matthias Farley miss tackles. Drove me insane. I couldn't believe the dude had a nice pro career. I don't think he's still in the league, but he had a decent pro career. I was honestly surprised. Anyway. 615-737-1045 is the number. We will do the dumbest thing in sports this week. Bring your nominees. Coming up next. 615-737-1045 is the number. You're going to need that number because it's time for the dumbest thing in sports this week. Let's go.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
"What the is this?"
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some warning.
Something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real. It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Rising Show.
It is presented by the Good Feet Stores of Tennessee, now open in Clarksville. If you're not doing the things that you love because of your foot, leg, or back pain, the folks at the Good Feet Store have been helping people like you feel better with custom arch support systems designed to alleviate foot, knee, and back pain. Locations in Nashville, Franklin, Mount Juliet, Murfreesboro, and now Clarksville. That's the Nashville Good Feet Stores, family-owned for 20 years. Excellent. Okay. The dumbest thing in sports this week is Mario Cristobal. It took us until Wednesday to get here. We had to save it. I have been stewing on this for the better part of now 4 days. Mario Cristobal made the dumbest decision in coaching, not just this year, but at any level of football this season. High school, college, pro, European, whatever, international football and American football. The dumbest decision made by a coach was Mario Cristobal. The scenario, if you are unfamiliar, they were ranked number 17. What did Miami drop to with the loss to Georgia Tech? Did you happen to notice in the AP poll they were 17th heading into the game?
What they dropped to?
Yes. Did they drop?
Oh, I can look it up.
Okay.
I believe they dropped somewhere into the 20s, if not out of the AP top 25 altogether, which is a shame because they play undefeated UNC this weekend, and that could have been a matchup of undefeated ACC teams.
Sure could have. Instead, they were 4-0 and lost to Georgia Tech, who is 2-3 on the season. They were leading 20-17. There's 33 seconds left on the clock. Cristobal decides that he is not going to take a knee, not have the offense take a knee and run out the clock for what is literally a guaranteed win, unless you're Mario Cristobal. Instead, they decide inexplicably to run the football. Not even like you can take the snap and have the running back just go down and run the clock out if that's what you insist on doing. Instead, you have this man, this poor college kid, actively try to gain positive yards. What happens? They fumble. The Yellow Jackets recover. With no timeouts left, they throw a touchdown pass to win the game in the waning seconds of the fourth quarter. Mario Cristobal should have been fired on the spot. On the spot. And instead, somehow, because Mario Cristobal is reputed not as an in-game coach, but as a recruiter, they still got a 5-star wide receiver commitment the next day who said he had a great time at the Miami game. How? I could not possibly know. That is one of the worst losses that a program that has been down bad. We talk about Texas being back. We talk about the U being back. Whether any of them are actually back, who's to say? All I know is that as long as you have an oaf like that in charge of your program, your ceiling is limited at best. Mario Cristobal, you are by far and away the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Disagree that he should have been fired right on the spot.
Fire him then.
It is coaching malpractice. You actively...
Again and again. Fire him once, fire him twice.
It's, what is it, less than a 1% chance that you lose if you opt to just take a knee there, right? It would have to be something catastrophic on the victory formation play, and you actively upped that percentage of losing. So, yes, coaching malpractice, one of the worst coaching decisions that you have ever seen. But no, ridiculous to say that they should fire Mario Cristobal and completely uproot all of the positive momentum.
Fire him today if you didn't do it Saturday.
This is Mario Cristobal after the game.
And as I stated, I made the wrong call, take full ownership and not taking a knee and giving them the opportunity to have a couple of extra plays and preventing us from sealing the win. So
what would change making sure that never happens again?
Well, just making the call. Like I mentioned before, I made the wrong call and I take complete ownership for it.
Oh, good. I'm glad that, thank God that you take complete ownership for it. I mean, what are you doing? How is that? How is it made the wrong call? Brother, there is only one call to make. You, inexplicably, with your galaxy brain football mind, Mario Cristobal, that helps you in recruiting, but apparently nowhere else. There is only one call. I sat there in a hotel room in Indianapolis, losing my mind for a football team that I don't particularly have opinions about one way or the other than one of my college roommates is a diehard Canes fan. And I know this about killed him. I know he about flung himself off the balcony of whatever, of whatever nightclub he was partying at, thinking that the Canes had a 5-0 start. Unbelievable.
I understand your point. But no, Mario Cristobal should not be fired.
Again, fire him, rehire him, fire him again.
Should Marcus Freeman have been fired on the spot for trotting out 10 players on defense in a critical goal-to-go situation at the end of the game?
No, but Al Golden should have been.
Because that's one of those...
Speaking of Miami Hurricanes and guys who continue to get jobs beyond my explanation.
Marcus Freeman's not going to get fired for that. He shouldn't get fired for that mistake, but it's something that's going to continue to come back around, right? The next time something happens... something attributed to coaching with Notre Dame, that instance against Ohio State will very quickly pop into your head. So same thing with Mario Cristobal, but no way he should be fired.
Fire him 3 times.
So much momentum with that program. But yes,
fire him, rehire him, fire him, rehire him, fire him again.
Well, nobody's saying fire James Franklin because Penn State is quietly one of the best teams in the country through the first few weeks. They haven't exactly had a gauntlet of a schedule. We won't learn much about them until they play, of course, Ohio State and Michigan. But my dumbest thing in sports this week has to be Penn State reporter Corey Geiger, who laid this gem on James Franklin in a press conference this week, talking about quarterback Drew Aller.
Good afternoon, James.
Hey, Corey.
A follow-up to what you were just asked there about Drew. Is there a balance, though, between, hey, we need you to throw the ball deep no matter. Just take a shot. Don't overthink it. Take a shot. We need to see it. We're going to call it. And we need you to get some confidence in doing this as opposed to even giving a young quarterback the chance to say, hey, just check it down if it's not there.
I don't really understand what you're saying because we would never I'm like my skin is curling when you say just drop back and chuck it deep no matter what like that is like I don't even know what you're saying. It's like you're speaking like from
just
Mars.
Just send a guy on a post pattern, take the shot, throw it
no matter what,
give your receiver a chance to make a play on a ball, even if he might be covered 30 yards down the field. Maybe you think he'll be open 45 yards down the field, and like Godwin did, or with Jahan or KJ.
I still don't like. You're speaking Japanese. We have never done that. Just throw the ball up, and maybe he'll be open, and maybe he'll catch. Like my skin is you're making me uncomfortable. Like I don't know what you're talking about. So
okay.
we would not do that. We would never do that. We've never thought about doing that as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, as a receivers coach. I coached the receivers. I didn't want them to do that. So no, strong no. No.
What?
Yeah, that's tough. That was tough.
What is he talking about?
Corey Geiger, who covers Penn State for DKPittsburghSports.com. And Corey has since taken to social media. He has said, I asked a bad question to James Franklin, no doubt. I own it. The idea was sound. I worded the question very poorly.
The idea was sound? I don't.
Well, because he's put out a lot of pieces lately about how Penn State has struggled throwing the deep ball. So it was something along those lines, I guess, trying to formulate a question about how can you kind of balance that out on trying to make progress in that regard. Just worded, obviously, very, very poorly. Almost like it sounded...
It was so long.
It sounded like a fan calling into a coach's show, right?
Also, are they calling into these press conferences? How is college sports being covered? What is that?
Well, he writes for, it seems like a Pittsburgh newspaper. I imagine he's zooming in from Pittsburgh.
Oh, they're still doing things on Zoom?
I imagine it. Look, there's people that have a lot of responsibilities that cover multiple teams in different areas that can't be at every Tuesday press conference. If you cover Penn State from Pittsburgh, you probably have a lot of other duties. So, yeah, you'll probably zoom into a press conference if you can ask that question via Zoom.
Oh, I didn't know that was an option.
What, Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the pros.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Corey Geiger.
Okay.
Dumbest
thing in sports.
Dumbest thing in sports this week. Bad question.
Bad question.
Love the reaction from James Franklin. Sounded like a fan calling into a coach's show. Sounded like someone calling into Vol Calls, asking Heupel, Coach, why don't you just throw it down there?
Just chuck it up.
Someone will be there, right? Squirrel will be down there. So I don't get it. Why don't you just get Joe to rear it back and just launch it? And somebody's probably going to be down there. No.
Oh, goodness. 615-737-1045 is the number if you have a dumbest thing in sports or you just want to talk some football. If you ask a question like Corey Geiger just did, then maybe we will have less of a discourse, but you are welcome to join the show at any point. How about Tannen, who's in Dixon?
Hey, what's up, Buck? Long-time listener, first-time caller, and
Delightful.
What's up, Lucas?
What you got for us?
Hey, so, man, I'm wondering what's going on with the O-line because I like Vrabel a lot, man. He's my favorite coach. I've been watching since Jeff Fisher's last year here, and I'm real confused. He's a physical player. He comes from a physical background when he played, and I don't understand how he can't see that Dillard cannot play tackle. He cannot.
Dillard?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Mike is very aware of the situation, but, you know, it's kind of like Dennis Daly. They never talked about benching Dennis Daly because they didn't think that they had a better option on the roster. So all they're telling you is that they don't think they have a better option on the roster, not that they think Andre Dillard is a superior player, or even a competent player at the position. Although, you know, to Dillard's credit, they helped him a lot on Sunday. He was not an outright problem. Now, they were missing their best pass rusher in Kwity Paye, but still, to Dillard's credit, the pass protection on this past Sunday specifically was not an overwhelming issue. It was late because Tannehill had to hold the ball, had to wait for something to come open downfield through the interception, desperation type play. But, you know, Vrabel is very aware of what Andre Dillard is, or more importantly, is not, just as he's very aware of the rest of the roster's limitations. Is this your blue?
I believe it is.
Is he calling us from a treetop?
I hope so.
Blue in Nashville is next.
Hey, Buck.
Hi, bud.
I'm on the ground right now, but I had to call this in. Lucas and I got home from a pretty horrific concert on Saturday, but to my joy, we get home, Pac-12 after dark is on. And my dumbest thing in sports is the NCAA fixing the overtime rules. This Arizona-USC game had 7, 8, 9 overtimes written all over it. Turnovers, amazing plays, and instead, just a quick 3 overtime, was it, Lucas?
Yeah, triple overtime. They went to the exchanging 2-point plays.
Exchanging I don't care about the 2-point play. I want 25 yards of absolute chaos. They need to change this back. Nobody wanted it. I want it back.
I'm with that. Also, call me. You have to move some trees for me sometime.
The NCAA watched Texas A&M and LSU play 7 overtimes and both score into the 70s and say, yeah, that was boring. Let's change that.
Well, they don't want USC to lose.
Yeah, that wasn't fun. We don't want that again.
What was the terrible concert?
We went to the Fish show Saturday night.
Oh, you told me. But you didn't tell me it was bad.
I fell into some Fish tickets.
Fell into some Fish tickets is not a line I've ever heard before.
My girlfriend's mother texted me, say, hey, I got 2 tickets to the show. We can't make it. You want to go? I was like, all right. And, it was good. You know, not my cup of tea.
Okay. 615-737-1045. You can join the conversation. The best quarterback in the NFL isn't who you think it is. We'll talk about that coming up next. Lyndsay Rowley, also in studio. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Titans back on the practice field today. They head to London Thursday evening ahead of Sunday's matchup with the Baltimore Ravens at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Mike Vrabel laid out what those travel plans will look like once the Titans land across the pond.
We're going to get there. We're going to do some activities, get into meetings. We're going to try to move around here after we get off the plane, do some meetings, get out on the field, and then, give them some time, and then get back up on Saturday and have a normal, what we would hope, a normal Saturday.
In NFL injury news, Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson was placed on IR this morning after a shoulder injury he suffered in the win over the Titans on Sunday. The rookie will miss at least 4 weeks. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour for us already on this Wednesday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. If you're just now hopping on, we're happy to have you. 615-737-1045 is the number. Our good friend Lyndsay Rowley going to be here in just about 15 minutes from now. Preds season back underway. A 5-3 loss last night in Tampa. Home for the Seattle Kraken tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. So Lyndsay will be here to talk us through the first couple of games of that. Meanwhile, Titans on the practice field ahead of the London trip. They will practice here in Nashville today and tomorrow. They will fly out from Nashville tomorrow night and arrive in London early Friday morning London time. I am not going to be here tomorrow. Well, I will be here, I guess, in some capacity. Lucas, do you want to tell people what you and Brad Hopkins are doing?
Fun show. B-Hop going to hang out, talk about some of his battles with the Ravens. John Sadak, Westwood One play-by-play broadcaster, is on the national radio call. Will give us the national perspective at 11:20 and would be interested to hear B-Hop's thoughts on the NPF situation, on where exactly NPF fits in for this last stretch.
Well, you ignored a pretty important part of that equation.
What's that?
You're me tomorrow.
Yes.
You did not mention that.
No, it'll be me and B-Hop hanging out.
I'm flying to London tomorrow. The logistics were supposed to have me taking off after the show. Things got changed. I am now leaving before the show. I will be in Boston Logan Airport before the show airs. So I will technically be available. I do not know how much, if at all, Lucas will want me to participate in the radio show tomorrow. I will be available in some capacity should you need me, bud. But
noted.
I do. Jerk. UW says Lucas is not going to London. No, somebody has to stay here and make sure that everything functions. And unfortunately for Lucas, that's Lucas. So I will be in London, and we will have full coverage of the game from there. Whole Lee Company countdown to kickoff situation will be across the pond as well, or at least half of it. Kayla and I will be over there. Mickey and Blaine back here in the studio. UW says, let Bert host the show. I would. I don't think our bosses would. Well, I would. Actually, no, I wouldn't let Bert host the show. I'd let Lucas host the show, and I'd let Bert board op. But at that point, it'd be 7 hours on a board, and I don't think that's fair to Robert. So, Jackson with you?
Yeah, Jackson Williams will be producing for us.
Jackson is our new Bert. We have sent Bert away. Bert got a promotion. We're very happy that Bert, or at least I'm happy. I don't have to deal with Bert every day now. Lucas is sad because you have company now there with Joseph, at least for an hour. So at least you have somebody to talk to.
Yes, but I miss my Bert. It's all right. I see him every.
You literally see him every day.
I see him every morning.
So unfortunately, so do I. We were in the middle of the dumbest thing in sports this week. If you have nominees, we would welcome them. But I do want to get this point off the ground before Lyndsay joins us. The best quarterback in football this year is not Patrick Mahomes. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Joe Burrow. It's not Lamar Jackson. It's not any of the names that you typically associate at the top of the list. The best quarterback in football is Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy is 10-0 as an NFL starter. You can lob all of the criticisms of his game that you want. Well, he has Kyle Shanahan, the smartest offensive mind in football. That is so. He has the best collection of skill position players around him. That might be true. I think Philadelphia probably still makes that argument. I don't know if anybody's got – does anybody have a better wide receiver running back combo, tight end in there? Dalton Schultz had a huge game over the weekend. Does anybody have a better
Dalton
offense?
Schultz.
Oh, Goddard. I'm sorry. Goddard, yeah. George Kittle had a huge game. Kittle did have
last
a huge
weekend.
Game.
3 touchdowns.
And by the way, is about to get fined by the NFL for that bleep Dallas shirt.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
He's going to get fined.
I saw that.
That's unfortunate.
But, yeah, McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, and that's not even including Brandon Ayuk. Jawan Jennings can get tough yards. Like, that is quite a core that surrounds Brock and San Fran.
So whatever. You can say all the things that make Brock Purdy less than, and all he does is win, so it doesn't matter. The reason that Brock Purdy outlasted the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft is because he makes the right decisions. The reason that Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in football this year is because he is the best quarterback at operating within his system this year. He is better at operating his system than is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs right now, which is crazy to say. He is better at operating his system right now than Joe Burrow or Josh Allen are. Every quarterback, every one of them, Mahomes down to Mac Jones, is a system quarterback. Quarterbacks asked to play within the system. That doesn't always mean that the system is right, as evidenced most clearly by New England. But every quarterback is asked to be a system quarterback. Every quarterback is asked to be a game manager. Some of them succeed at that to an extent. Some of them can't do anything above that. Some of them are able to make spectacular plays outside of the structure that they are asked to play within. But the best player at that position and operating their system is Brock Purdy. So you will not be able to convince me otherwise that while there are more physically talented players, there are players who will make more explosive plays, there are players with stronger arms in the NFL than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in football this year, bar none.
He hasn't thrown an interception since New Year's Day, the second to last week of the 2022 regular season.
Jeremy McInturf says on YouTube, he's 10-0 as a starter and splitting a San Francisco apartment with a roommate. I don't know if that's so or not, but if that is, that's awesome.
I would believe that.
I mean, he's making, decent money compared to the average human being, of course. But by NFL standards, my guy's making pennies.
7th round rookie deal money.
No, not 7th round. Last pick of the draft. He is Mr. Irrelevant.
It's crazy. Like, we talk so much about trying to maximize the window of a rookie quarterback deal, right? Like trying to maximize that Justin Herbert window, which that expired for the Chargers. It's expired for the Bengals. He got him to a Super Bowl on it, but now they got to move past that. Like, this is that times a million with Brock Purdy. It's not just a rookie quarterback deal. It's a 7th round, last pick of the draft type of deal. Now I'm going to look up his contract. What do you think his contract is worth in total?
I bet he's making $750K.
You think that's his base salary?
No, I think that's his. No, it would be. I bet his total contract is less than $3 million.
Close. It's less than 4.
Less than 4?
Yes. So his base salary this year is technically $870,000.
Okay.
So it's a 4-year, $3.7 million deal. His signing bonus was $77,000, and that is what was guaranteed at signing. The signing bonus.
It's unbelievable. Apparently, this is talked about. I haven't seen a lot of San Francisco television broadcasts. I mean, I watched the Cowboys 49ers game, but I guess they talk about it on every broadcast that he splits an apartment with one of his offensive linemen. That's incredible.
San Francisco, not a cheap place to live.
How do we have a story more? I mean, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, so I can't make the Tom Brady comparison. But it is entirely possible that San Francisco is the best team right now, or at least playing like the best team in the NFC, even though the Eagles are 5-0.
San Francisco's playing like the best team in football.
Okay. So we can comfortably say that the San Francisco 49ers, despite the AFC being completely lopsided with depth of teams, that San Francisco and the Niners, with Brock Purdy as an extension or as a cog, however you want to view him, are the best team in professional football through the first 5 weeks of the season. I am continually blown away by, one, how we have a story that is potentially greater than Tom Brady, and it is being somehow under-discussed. And two, how laugh-out-loud funny it is that the NFL is this bad at figuring out quarterbacks.
Okay, the potentially greater than Tom Brady.
Bud.
Yeah, potentially. Potentially if Brock Purdy wins several Super Bowls, yes.
Okay, but like people do the Tom Brady thing all the time with, this guy was a 6th-round draft pick. Maybe he can make it. No, this one's actually doing the thing. He's doing the thing. Now, the Super Bowls, of course, are as big a part of the Tom Brady conversation. But, Lucas, we've talked about this before. Tom Brady was not talked about as the greatest quarterback when he was playing, when he was winning these early Super Bowls. He was talked about as a cog, right? He's talked about as a piece, efficient.
Oh, yeah, the similarities are there.
They're all there. We'll mix in the dumbest thing in sports this week calls, since we have a bunch of them to get through. Lyndsay Rowley join us shortly. How about Bob and Dixon next?
Yes, the dumbest thing in sports, the Baltimore Ravens are having their wide receivers practicing catching a rugby ball, and maybe that's why they had 9 drops.
That was very efficient. Thank you, Bob. Is this so? Are they out there fielding? Did you see the clip I sent you of the USC training staff? Go look at what I sent in the group text this morning of a USC staffer going out there with the kind of like backpack pump style like sprayer that you would see somebody spraying like pesticides with, spraying it at a returner trying to field a punt. And that's how they're simulating the weather conditions. Go look at that video and tell me that's not the dumbest thing you've ever seen. If it better translated it to radio, I would have used that. No, I still would have used Mario Cristobal. So stupid. Anyway, Lyndsay Rowley join us next. Maybe she has the dumbest thing in sports this week. We will get to more of yours as well. I know that she has brought Preds insight and analysis, and we will do that since their season started yesterday. Well, she's a part of one of our opens because she likes to talk a lot of smack to me. It's deserved. Absolutely. But it's always a great pleasure when we can have our friend Lyndsay Rowley of Bally Sports. The Preds broadcast with Hal Gill, with Chris Mason, with Willie Donick, always on the call, except for last night because it was an ESPN game, so she was taking it in like the rest of us, watching, I'm sure, stressfully through a first period.
Oh, my gosh, so stressed.
Hi, Linz.
Hi, what's up?
Now,
Thanks
wait,
for having me.
Smile for me.
I know.
Nothing in your teeth.
I actually thought about it and almost texted you and Lucas because I was like brushing my teeth and I was like, not going to get me this time, Buck.
I didn't get, no. That's not, I didn't try to get you.
Buddy.
I felt that it would be rude to point out to you when we were still getting to know you at the time. This was very early on in your and I's relationship. I did not feel it that I should tell you that there was a piece of salad in your mouth while we were doing, the better part of an hour of radio.
It would have been a great bit.
Excuses.
It would have been a great bit, Lindsay, for you to come with something purposely in your teeth just to test out the waters and see.
Oh, man. Opportunity missed.
Maybe next time. You were at Doghouse watching this game last night.
I was,
Or just across the street from us, as a matter of fact. What do I do with the first period? And do I take the first period separately from the rest of the game? Or how am I to consume what I saw last night in a 5-3 loss?
I think that's a fantastic question.
Thank you.
Game recognizing game. No, I think you take it separately. I thought it was interesting when Burnett got interviewed on camera and he said, I think we're a little bit nervous. And I in my head, I was like, oh, no kidding, coach, just a little bit. But UC Saros stood on his head. So as always, he looks incredible. And it was good to see because last year he had a little bit of an up-down start to his season and then was on fire in the back half. So it was really exciting to see him still at the top of his game. Nothing's really changed to start the season. But that score could have been very different if it weren't for UC Saros. And then I really liked the response out of the guys. I don't know what Bruno and the coaching staff said at intermission or the leadership group, but whatever it was, it worked because they looked way better in the second period. Didn't take any penalties, which in the third ended up being kind of the story of the game, taking 4 penalties in that third period. So that was tough, but I liked the response. I thought it was good, and they almost pulled it off.
Yeah, the empty net at the end obviously is why it looks a little wider margin for error there. 5-3, the final in Tampa last night for the Nashville Predators. Home game coming up tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. They will face the Seattle Kraken. It's a Bally Sports game, so you can watch Lindsay and the entire crew. Will be a great time. I will be on my way to London, but I am planning on going to the home game on the 28th. I'm looking forward to that. It's
nice.
Been a while since I've been to Bridgestone.
That'll be a good one. The Leafs.
Well, they lose every time I go.
Okay, so now you're not allowed to go. I retract my former statement. You are not allowed in the building.
I love the hockey. I love the hockey game so much, but they lose every time I go, Liz. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, you got to do like some kind of a ritual, like put a 4-leaf clover in your shoe. I don't know.
Do you have anything handy?
I'll figure. I am Irish. Let me see what I probably have like a little bottle of Jameson somewhere. That's the same thing, right?
I have some oregano in my bag if you want to put that.
Oregano and Jameson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I barter vegetables and herbs with Tyler Reese of WKDF right here next door.
Oh my gosh! You know if that works though, then every time you go to a game, you're going to have oregano and Jameson in your socks.
No, because then I'm going to get like tackled by a police officer who thinks the oregano is something that it shouldn't
Just
be.
say
or
it was
something
my
like that.
idea. You're like, oh, it was Lyndsay Rowley. They'll be like, oh, okay.
And then immediately Lindsay will be like, he's not supposed to be there. They lose. Get him out of here. That's exactly how that'll go. Ryan O'Reilly getting in the mix last night in particular was something to take note of. Obviously, he's been a big talking point since his acquisition by the franchise. What do we know about him, and what did you like about what you saw from him yesterday?
I actually liked what I saw of him in preseason. Ever since I've been, of course, I've followed his career. Who hasn't? But I think ever since I saw him with our team and everything I've heard from a positive standpoint of how well, actually all the new guys for that matter, but he fits so well in our locker room, I've been told. I'm very fortunate selfishly because he's such a good interview. So Kara and I are very excited to have him. He's going to maybe end up hating us by the end of the season, how much we use him. But no,
that's Arden Key for us.
I know. Yeah, exactly. No, he was great. And I think he brings so much to the table and in all different aspects, but more specifically face-offs. Last night, I don't think was his best night, but I mean, you go through, he's won over 10,000 face-offs in his career. He's either tied or in first for a ton of records for the NHL. So I think he's not only going to bring that from himself personally, but he's going to help our younger guys, some of our younger centers, even Colton Sissons, who is, I mean, I guess you could probably call Colton a veteran now. And for the better half of last season, he was second in the league in shorthanded faceoffs. And even I was talking to him during preseason, and he said, I'm excited to learn from Ryan O'Reilly. So I think he's going to bring so much to our team throughout this season, not just from his personal play, but the way he is going to be able to mold and help some of our other centers, especially the younger ones. And I know just from the coaching staff and stuff, he and number 9, Philip Forsberg, have been doing a lot of work after practice, staying after to help their game and help this team hopefully have a successful season.
Lyndsay Rowley of Bally Sports is our guest. We don't have her in often enough, but it must be hockey season if she's hanging out here in the new. This is the first time you've been in the new studio.
I know, it's awesome.
Yeah, we're very happy with it.
This is very cool.
Lucas says we don't deserve it. I maintain that we do, but, we will.
Come on, Lucas.
Forsberg was on the radio show, as a matter of fact. I had texted you for some advanced scouting. I did not get to the Halloween questions.
Oh, come on.
Well, I will be honest. I got too distracted by the fact that we found out that Phil is actually Lucas's boss, which delights me.
In a way.
What?
He is a part owner of the Nashville Soccer Club.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Lucas is the voice of the Nashville Soccer Club. It is. It makes me very happy to know that Phil Forsberg is in part Lucas Panzica's boss.
Give me some constructive criticism.
Did you guys talk about it?
We did. He screwed up his update. It was very unprofessional of the professional broadcaster back there. Screwed up his sports update, which I was very happy to point out with Phil on the line. And Phil had some constructive criticism for you, as a matter of fact.
No, did he?
I appreciated that, and I wrote it down, and we watched the tape, and we move on. But we move on.
A little spicy. I like it.
Something like that. So anyway, because hockey season is back at top of mind now, and football's still going on, we obviously do a very football-heavy show, as you well know.
I'm working on that. Things are going to change.
Well, that's fine. You are welcome. Listen, the studio door, it's 1,000 pounds, but it's open for you.
You can get it open.
If you can get it open, you are welcome in here anytime that you like. For people who are, who know that the Preds missed the playoffs for the first time in 8 seasons, if I remember correctly, 8 or 9 seasons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And who understand that this team went through a significant amount of change in the offseason, from Trotz stepping into this role with Poyle kind of phasing out, or at least into a different situation within the organization, with Andrew Brunette coming in as the new coach, with a lot of roster turnover, trades that we have not yet talked about. What do people who are just now starting to check back in need to know about this particular hockey team?
Well, I do think that throughout the season, we could be one of those teams who could sneak in and be a playoff contender there at the end. But I think that a lot of people are underestimating the team that we have right now, especially we mentioned Ryan O'Reilly. Luke Shen was huge last night, especially from a physical standpoint. He was great. I mean, Roman Yossi's always going to do Roman Yossi things, to quote Hal Gill. So he's incredible. And then you've got UC Saros, who we saw stood on his head in the first and is still at the top of his game. One of the players that I think could be, who we just talked about, Philip Forsberg. I thought he looked great last night. I think that Bruno is probably giving him the green light to shoot more and be more aggressive. But then you also saw the toe drag that he had on Hedman for O'Reilly to get that goal, and it looked incredible. He led the team in shots last night, so I loved seeing that. We haven't seen a healthy Philip Forsberg in a minute. He wasn't there at the end of the season due to the injury he had, and so it's exciting to see him, and I think he's playing with a lot of fire and aggression, both from a physical standpoint, and as I said, I think having that green light, I would assume, from Bruno to shoot the puck as much as he wants. So I think he's going to, I'm not saying our offense hinges on Philip Forsberg, because we do have so many weapons, but I think if Phil can catch that fire and play the way he did last night, I think it could be a big difference maker.
Phil did talk to us last Friday about that, wanting to spend more time in the O-zone, more of the puck, a lot of those things that have been made of Andrew Burnett's style. How much of that did you see last night?
I mean, we're washing the first. Like, it didn't even happen. But I think...
What were you doing during the first period at Doghouse amongst your friends, your fans? Because, of course, at Lyndsay Rowley.
We're on camera, right? So I was like... I was standing and I was sitting like this.
For the audio audience, as this is still a primary audio medium, her head is in her hands. That is correct.
My head is in my hands, and my eyes like peeking through my hands because I was standing, because I can't sit. I'm
you're a very intense human being.
I am, and I mean I'm not Italian, but I hands are everything.
Respect.
Yeah.
Lucas is.
No, but no, I was stressed out, as I'm sure every Preds fan, coach, player. I mean, they knew there was no secret that wasn't their best period. But I think it all. I mean, any coach will tell you, okay, you're going to have those. How do you bounce back? How do you respond? And they responded. They played really well in the second and the third. That goal gets called off there in the third, and I mean, that was such a bummer, man. Yeah. Oh gosh, that could have changed everything. So, but I think they played well. They responded well. And going back to your question, Lucas, I think if you look at, and Phil didn't play, it's not like any one person was horrible in the first. Just as a whole, it wasn't their best. And but I thought I saw, everything that we've seen in the past is that make up what Philip Forsberg is and what makes him such a good player. And like I said, I think before he got hurt at the end of last season, I don't think he was as aggressive as far as pulling that trigger as much as he should. And last night he didn't hesitate, which I loved seeing, but then also knew when to make the smart play like he did on O'Reilly's goal.
At Lyndsay Rowley is where you can follow her on both Twitter and Instagram. That's LYNDSAY.
It's very weird. My parents screwed me.
No, I don't think it's honestly. Wouldn't you rather have a different name as opposed to the same? There's 700
Have you ever walked into a gas
Lindsays.
station and seen the little keychains with the names? I've never found one that's that spelling. It's nowhere.
I did not realize that you were going to get that emotional about a gas station keychain.
That's true. But I'm just saying, everything was spelled wrong growing up. But, I actually, at this point, whenever people are like, what is it? I'm like, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, whatever.
At Lyndsay Rowley on socials. That's where you can follow her. And, of course, Bally Sports is where you can watch her on the Predators pre, intermission, and post-game coverage. Her and the rest of the Bally Sports crew. The next game for the Nashville Predators coming up at home. You can get your tickets at NashvillePredators.com for the Preds and the Seattle Kraken coming into Bridgestone Arena. Now,
and real quick, Buck, if you aren't going to the game, we are actually doing an hour-long pregame show. Ooh. So we will be on Bally Sports at 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay.
It'll be exciting. A lot of different things that we're going to be doing, footage from the gold carpet, things like that. So it's going to be an exciting show. If you're not fortunate enough to go to the game, tune in at 6.
So what else are there any differences with what you guys are doing as a part of the broadcast this year? Like what can people expect from watching you guys?
It's going to be exciting. There's some different things that we have in the works. Not for tomorrow night, but throughout the season, we're actually going to be miking up a player during warm-ups probably.
Excellent.
At some point.
Is that usable with hockey players?
Yes. So I know we're going to have the beep button ready. No, I'm kidding. Our boys will know. They'll be good. But we're also doing 3-man booth Thursdays. So tomorrow's a Thursday. So Hal Gill will do the pregame show with me, and then he will go up to the booth. And for every Thursday, Chris Mason, Hal Gill, and Willie Donick will all be in the booth together.
Fun.
So that'll be really cool. And some different things that we're working up, trying to get creative with the pregame show. Saturday in Smashville is still going to be a thing, so we'll have a special guest each time. We're fortunate enough to live in a city where there's lots of country music stars available, Vanderbilt coaches, things like that. So it's going to be a really exciting year. Definitely tune in whenever you can to our pregame show, which is normally a half hour in advance. But like I said, tomorrow it's going to be an hour.
I can't imagine. I don't even know what I would do. Half an hour seems like such a small window.
Well, that's because you talk all the time. You just, whether you're that mic is in front of you,
All right.
I've been around you outside of the studio, and there's not much of a difference. It's just going.
No. You make that sound like a bad experience. I feel like you and I have fun when we go out.
Well, that's true, and I'm very similar to you, but I just like giving you crap. So, right? Yes.
And the problem is, I just refuse to let go of the microphone, and you are, more judicious. You understand that
yes,
less is better than more.
Have mercy on whoever's out with us because they're not getting a word in.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Lyndsay Rowley is here with us in studio. We're talking Preds. Will you hang out with us for another segment?
Absolutely.
Delightful. We'll update some polls. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045 is the number. Lyndsay Rowley is in studio. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Lyndsay Rowley is kind enough, foolish enough, whatever you want to call it, to still be hanging out in the studio with us. At Lyndsay Rowley is where you can follow her on the social. She will be on the broadcast for Bally Sports, Preds, and the Kraken tomorrow evening at Bridgestone Arena. The puck drop at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
You got me first. I was like, well, yesterday threw me off
Well,
so
he
badly.
told me 4:30. I thought he was lying to me. I thought he was doing a thing.
When I first saw it, I was like, wait, what? And then I remembered ESPN was doing that, that slate of games. So, but yeah, no, I have to think about it now because I'm like, wait a minute, yesterday was at 4:30. So yeah, no, we'll be on TV. Pregame show starts at 6. Going to be a lot of exciting guests on our desk. Hal and I will be broadcasting from the plaza. So if you happen to be coming to the game and want to jump in the background and have some fun appropriately.
People do love it.
They really do.
To just run around in the background of you all.
Oh my gosh. It's always it always makes me laugh. Like after a tough loss, if we're broadcasting our post-game show out there and no one's there, but one highly intoxicated person from Broadway is in the back, doing the YMCA or something. I'm like, oh man.
Have you ever had to have somebody physically removed from the background?
Yes. Yeah, we did. We had one show, and our stage manager, Emily, is a saint, and she also is does Olympic lifting, so I'm scared of her. She could kill somebody. She's amazing.
Excellent.
And but she's also the nicest human you'll ever meet. But this guy, in our background when we were in Bridgestone, ripped his shirt off and was and Emily was like, get out of here, get him out of here. And they had to get security to get him out of there because he was basically starting to take his clothes off behind us. But yeah, people, Broadway really.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for a live shot. You never know what's going to happen.
I know, but it makes it for a great shot. And it's cool because the fans can get involved, especially after a big win. They stay and cheer. It's really cool.
So, Lucas, I'm thinking that we should send a plant to do something, whether it's an audience member, whether it's Bert.
I was going to say Bert.
Well, Bert, because we know he will do something that warrants him being physically removed from the area, that we can count on him for that. But just something because Lyndsay is coming on the show and we want there to be
an extra challenge.
Integration between the audiences, of course, as she tries to convert us more into, or at least more regular hockey discussion.
Yes. Yeah, hockey. You know hockey.
We know it well enough to have you in studio to tell us about all the things that we don't know about. He knows hockey. I'm just I'm basically just a puppet. We bring in people like Lyndsay and Lucas to prop me up for 3 hours a day, and that's how we do a radio show. Speaking of people who prop us up, last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. Cheeseburger is on the line.
What's going on, Buck? How y'all doing today?
We're great, bud.
I'm doing good, too. I'm just on my way to work. Buck, I got a couple of questions for you. What do the Titans need to do to beat the Ravens Sunday? And then I think this game right here Sunday for the Titans, I think it's a get-right game for the Titans. Do you think it's a get-right game for the Titans? And also, how do you see Florida State matched up against Syracuse this weekend? And also, Buck, y'all in Penzika, y'all are the best show in town. Hey, I think y'all might be the #1 show ever. Let's go. 104.5 The Zone. It's the Buck Rising Show and Penzika Show. Yeah, let's go. Tighten up. Let's go. Also, let's go Predators tomorrow night. Let's go. Let's get that first win. Beat Seattle. Let's go. Lyndsay Rowley handling the Preds coverage. Yeah.
He's mixing it up.
I love it.
He's mixing it up.
I love it.
Cheeseburger. A cheeseburger original.
Some of his finest work.
We always have to. Well, he threw in the Preds. That's a curveball.
I love it.
Making things that make you say, cheeseburger. Always. So is it a get right game? Hell yeah, they're 2-3. When the Preds slump, it's a much longer season, Linz, and there's just such a small sample size in football. For one, the fans to react and to overreact to.
Oh, yeah.
There's such a distance between games played, so people start to freak out. When you get feedback from Preds fans, when the Preds have struggled, certainly in the last season, I would imagine.
Yeah.
How do you kind of balance things out? What is your feedback for them?
Well, especially when it's early. Last year was a different animal, but fans, like you said, need to remember how long this season is. There's no way you're going to have a strong season in the end, like every single game. I mean, I guess last year Boston kind of messed with that idea.
Yeah.
But no, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Even the best of players, UC Saros isn't going to have a fantastic stand on your head kind of game every single game. Same with Roman Josi. They seem superhuman, but they're not. So I think that anytime the Preds have one of those games where, they just kind of got their butts kicked, for lack of a better term, you just got to remember that there's another game in probably less than 48 hours. Yeah. So, but to your point, as far as football goes, they don't have a whole lot of time to bounce back. And if you lose 2-3 games, you're already like, oh crap, we got to get it together now.
Lyndsay is apparently a degenerate gambler. So we are going to bring her in more regularly for gambling segments. We're gonna have to manifest this into existence.
Yeah, I love it. NFL is I've been watching and getting into it for a little while now.
So sports books within the sound of our voices. If you went in on the Lyndsay Rowley gambling segment, we are officially open for business. Speaking of questions for Lyndsay, Philly Mike has one next.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hi.
Hey, Lyndsay, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, fantastic. Hey, you do a great job, and I enjoy watching the broadcast. I moved down here from Philadelphia a couple of years ago, sales position, but you do a great job.
Thank you.
Terry Crisp, I remember watching Crispy back when the Flyers won the 2 cups back in the 70s. So,
man, he had the fro back then. He had the red hair and everything.
That's right. He had the red fro back then, so I definitely remember that. But a couple quick questions. Will there be several 25th anniversary events this year for the Predators? Because I do cheer for the Predators along with my Flyers, so I cheer for both teams. And also, what is the agreement between TSU and the Predators, which I think is very cool? And I'll hang up a list. But great job, Lyndsay.
Thank you so much. Yes, to answer your question, lots of 25th anniversary stuff this year. First and foremost, it all starts tomorrow night with that hour-long pregame show. We're going to be interviewing some of the players on the gold carpet. We'll have footage from that. We'll have special guests that will be on. We're actually, I'm not quite sure when the date is, but stay tuned because we are having a captain's night where we are going to have captains from, hopefully all of them, from over the ages for the Nashville Predators. We'll all be there for one night. We will have several alumni nights where we will have them not only on the show, but, dropping the puck, doing stuff in the intermissions at the arena, but also on the show. So lots going on as far as celebrating the 25th anniversary. And like I said, it all starts tomorrow night. Definitely stay tuned to NashvillePredators.com. That will be when more of the theme nights and you'll find about giveaways and when those captains are all going to be in town. We're definitely all very excited. I'm excited to see Shea Weber again. I can't wait to get him back in Smashville and see him. I'm sure he's excited. He and his wife always loved Nashville, so I'm sure any excuse to come back to Music City, he's going to be pretty pumped.
Valley Sports is where you can watch it all go down, and as she said, NashvillePredators.com for updates. Polls, please.
Oh, yeah, baby. This poll update is shagadelic, baby. I have a Danger Powers here. I'm Austin Powers. Danger is my middle name, baby. This is one poll I'm interested in, baby. It's shagadelic. I haven't had an update in 2023 yet. Wink, wink. Oh, hey. Take it away, Lucas Panzica. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Have the impressions gotten any better since the last time you were here?
I was just like sitting over here, I was laughing by myself.
He doesn't know nobody ever knows what to do. Lucas and I are just sitting here going about it.
What is happening? I know I was looking over at you and you were just like, oh, business as usual. I was like, what am I listening to?
Shagadelic.
Well, all of this foolishness is presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford.
And a big partner of the Nashville Predators, Two Rivers Ford, of course.
Yep. Yes.
What is the dumbest thing in sports this week? Eldon says the correct answer is Mario Cristobal. Lindsay on Twitter says running Derrick Henry from shotgun on 4th and 1.
What's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question.
You have time to think about it. We'll go to another poll. Maybe Lindsay will have an answer for us by the end of the show.
What is maybe the Connor Bedard love fest that the Preds opened up for on ESPN yesterday?
I understand it on the broadcast.
I understand the hype. It did get just a tiny bit excessive.
I was not aware they were letting fans in the booth these days.
What is one word to describe Ryan Tannehill's 2023 season so far? Seth says generic. Jack says aging. McTitan says pain.
Have you watched them yet this year?
Yes. Those are all very aggressive.
Welcome to our show.
Yeah. Come on in. Stay a while.
Wow. Really hating on Tannehill. No, I mean.
Cyrus says
downs.
inconsistent. that sums it up.
Ups, hyphen, and downs.
Yeah.
Inconsistent. Who is the best quarterback in the NFL this season? Karen says it's still Pat Mahomes. Stro says it's got to be Brock Purdy. Seth giving a shout to Gardner Minshew.
The answer is Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, and I'll hear nothing otherwise. Do you have an NFL team?
Growing up in Columbus, Ohio, the Ohio State Buckeyes were bigger than any, so I've actually, I will admit, whenever I move to a city, I kind of jump on the wagon, So right now I'm a Titans fan.
Okay.
So you're a Mike Vrabel fan.
Oh my
Ohio
gosh,
State
huge Vrabel fan. Yeah, I actually covered a game at Boston College where his son was playing and reached out, and he got back to me immediately and gave me a quote. And it was, so I was always a big fan. Then I was an extra big fan.
All I get when I text him is mother bleep you this and mother bleep you that. That's about the extent of our conversations.
Vrabel's son is where? He was in Atlanta for a time?
He was up for a game. Tyler was up for a game for the Falcons. Yeah. Recently.
Is there any realistic SEC championship game scenario other than Georgia-Bama? 51% say no. 49% are still saying yes. To me, the only scenario would be LSU winning out and taking the SEC West.
What's the college football bet you've lost, or the team you've bet the most that you've lost on this year in gambling?
Notre Dame.
My Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yes, allegedly.
Excellent.
Although I'm a humongous Sam Hartman fan.
I am not.
What?
I am not a Sam Hartman fan against Louisville. Apparently, Sam Hartman is not a Sam Hartman fan against Louisville.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. She's Lyndsay Rowley. She's so kind to spend some time in studio with us. Check out, if not for her gambling picks, all her coverage of the Nashville Predators on Bally Sports and at Lyndsay Rowley. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me, boys. Anytime. And thanks for, I guess, not pointing out anything. I'll find out later if there's anything in my teeth or my hair standing up or who knows.
If we don't, the audience will. They're always there for us. We will talk to you guys tomorrow at 10. I won't. I'll be on my way to London. Blaine and Mickey are next.